Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Becker, out of Alexandria, Virginia. On today's episode, my new friend from a community that I just recently joined, Chris Logan, who is the co-founder of Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. Welcome, man. Good to see you.
Andrew, thanks for having me on, brother. Really looking forward to being on the podcast and just kind of sharing what's worked for me with your audience.
Yeah, man. I know we got to catch up a little bit in our pre-episode conversation, but just real quick, tell people who Chris Logan is and how you came about for your coaching program. Then I'd love to kind of jump right in and, learn some cool stuff from you.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you guys who don't know me, like Andrew said, my name is Chris Logan. I've been wholesaling houses for the last 13 years. The last 8 years, we've been doing it virtually. And we have done over 600 deals, grown our business to over 7 figures, and now really passionate about shortening the learning curve for newbies who are just getting started, showing them how to land their first deal confidently from home anywhere in the country without any confusion, being lost in the sauce, and being able to grow into a predictable business that can replace their full-time job income.
Awesome, man. That's really cool. And it was really funny when we were talking earlier, you had actually done or converted your actual business that you were running 2 years prior to the whole COVID thing that happened to virtual. And I had asked you, was that on purpose or sheer luck? And the answer was the latter. So
Yeah.
you foresaw it. You were the one that had the crystal ball to say, hey, I feel something's coming, so I'm going to switch to virtual. But how has that played out? What's the difference between, and tell us like what virtual means to you, but what's the difference between not virtual and virtual?
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you guys who don't know what virtual is, virtual just simply means you're wholesaling houses without going to see sellers or buyers in person. Everything is done over the phone. You're putting deals under contract over the phone. You are getting the seller to sign the contract over the phone using DocuSign. You're having someone else meet buyers at properties and selling those properties virtually to those buyers over the phone, sometimes sight unseen. And it really pulls you out of a lot of the trivial tasks like driving to properties, meeting buyers for multiple showings, and you can reinvest that time into doing what you do best, talking with sellers and closing deals. Naturally, your deal volume increases because you're not wasting time on those other things. So what kind of spawned this for us to where we got into it was in the very beginning, my wife was the one talking with sellers and meeting sellers in person. And I was the one responsible for the marketing and selling our deals. So, it got to be a point where our business kept growing so much that my wife was going on like 15 appointments a week. And she would just come home at the end of a Friday being just totally exhausted and
not
tired.
Full of energy or anything like that, or the
not full of energy. She had a lot of contracts, but not a lot of energy at the end. Okay. And I kind of felt bad. I was like, there's got to be a better way than this, right? Because the days you really feel it are the days that you call a seller, the seller says, I'm going to be there, I promise. And then you drive to the property, you sit in traffic, you finally pull up and nobody's there. You call the seller, oh, I had to go get my medication, my doctor's appointment, so I can't be at the property today. Maybe you can come back tomorrow, Yeah. And so then you got to drive home, you're stuck in rush hour traffic, and it's just really frustrating. So I was like, there's got to be a better way. Yep. So we had already got a deal under contract or a couple of deals under contract virtually previously. And so we were like, man, we've done it before. What if we did this 100% of the time? And back then, virtual wasn't even a thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like virtual was not widely accepted as it is now. It's actually easier to wholesale virtually than it was when we first got going because sellers are used to it. You have all the open doors, the offer pads, the Zillow home offers, all these companies that the only way they do this is virtually. It's much more accepted now. But when we first started doing it, it wasn't accepted. And we had a lot of obstacles to overcome with sellers. Like, how can you make an offer without seeing my property in person? Are you local? I'm just not understanding. I want to shake your hand and meet you belly to belly. And I want you to sit on my couch. And that's how I feel comfortable.
There's kind of like a trust barrier that you had to get over because of the fact that sellers at one point were just used to meeting Chris in person.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Dude, this might be a stupid question, but I'm not that smart of a guy. So bear with me here. But can you virtually wholesale in like your own area? So if there's a house 2 miles away from me, that says, hey, I want to sell? Is virtual wholesaling, you know, is there any outside of like my neighborhood, or
Totally.
can you wholesale anywhere virtually?
Yeah. So a big misconception about wholesaling is that you can only do it like in a different area. You have to, it's like a different state, or you got to go
We out of state,
nationwide.
yeah. Okay.
But our first virtual territory was our home market, right? So the area where we live, that was our very first virtual territory. Our second virtual territory was an hour and a half to 2 hours away from us. And then our third one ended up being a little more than like 6 hours away from us, right?
Okay.
But a big challenge that people often face when they're wholesaling in their own territory is the urge and the feeling that you need to drive to the property if the seller,
this is so close,
if you
why
get,
not kind of thing.
yeah, if like you get the smallest amount of resistance, or the seller throws an objection at you, you're like, okay, no problem, I'll just drive the property, right? So the secret to overcoming this, if you'd like me to share it with your audience, the secret to overcoming, that type of feeling is if you're going to wholesale virtually in your own territory, like you have to treat that territory like it's 10 states away.
Okay.
Like, even though it might be 2 blocks up the road, mentally,
yes,
it's in another state.
I love that. Yeah. That's kind of how you need to approach that, right?
Yes. So you have to be fully committed to the process and be willing to hold your feet to the fire, even when it's uncomfortable. And if you can get through that, eventually sellers will just understand this is your process. This is the way you do business. And if they want to do it another way, they can, but it'll just be with somebody else. Okay. And so if you can hold that line, then you'll start doing deals virtually.
So Chris, I'm a seller. Mm-hmm. I know you're in the area somehow, right? Because your website has an address, and I'm like 2 miles away from you. And I say, hey, can you come over to my house? What are you telling these homeowners to get them comfortable enough to virtually wholesale with you, although you're so close in proximity to each other?
Yeah. So typically what happens, is we're calling the lead back based on a lead that our team sent us. And, we just give them a call and basically say, hey, my name's Chris. I'm with Rise Real Estate Group. I was calling about, you spoke with a member of my team about a property you're looking to sell off 123 Main Street. Now still a good time. Yes, it is. Great. You kind of go into it. And then from there, you're building a lot of subtle rapport by asking a lot of questions. Say, I see here that you're looking to sell here in the next 90 days. Can you share with me, what that looks like, or what's got you wanting to sell in 90 days? And so all those questions are building a deeper level of rapport. So by the time you finish with that seller, which is like a 30-minute call typically, at the end of the call, they're like, okay, great. Well, what's the next step? And you're like, well, the next step, I'm going to go ahead and send you an agreement to sign over DocuSign, right? And it'll outline the price and the terms we agreed to today. When are you going to be in front of your computer? And then from there, they're going to say, I can be in front of my computer in the next hour. Okay, great. I'm going to give you a call back in an hour. We're going to review the agreement together and then answer any questions you have.
Let's stop right there, Chris.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but I did.
Yeah.
Those out there virtually wholesaling pick up on what Chris just said.
Yeah.
When are you going to be in front of a computer versus I am going to send you a DocuSign or agreement to sign and then just sending it? Why do you do it the way you do it?
Because naturally, someone who doesn't really know you that well, if they literally just met you, the most valuable thing they own is their home, right?
Yeah.
Because naturally, people are going to have buyer's remorse. They might have a few objections that might come up. And if you're not sitting there with them on the phone as they're reviewing the agreement, being virtual, it's easier for them to say, I'll get to the agreement when I can. There's no urgency there. Or maybe they see something in the agreement they don't like, but they're bad at confrontation. And so they don't want to ask you. So they just ghost you. And you get stuck in this limbo period where you're following up with them to the end of time, trying to figure out what happened. Long story short, they move forward with somebody else who was local, right?
Yep.
So when you're over the phone with them and they're reviewing the agreement right then and there, they're kind of talking out loud. You're just kind of sitting there. I'm just going to be here if you have any questions. Their questions come up and you're like, that's a great question. This is what we typically find, blah, 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 right? And you overcome their objection. At the end, they sign it. So once they sign it, at that point, you're ready to go. Now, this is where most virtual wholesalers mess up. right? Most virtual wholesalers, they think the game's over when they got the deal under contract and the seller's just going to wait for them and they don't have to communicate with them and they can just let the seller know when they found a buyer, right? And when they're ready to close. Not the case. This is the biggest part of the transaction where sellers will ghost you, right? Because as a virtual wholesaler, to make sure that things continue to move on smooth, you always want to let the seller know what happens next, right? Okay, great, Mr. Seller, we got the agreement under contract. So the next step, I'm going to forward this over to the title company or closing attorney, and they're going to be in communication with you. And I'll be periodically checking in with you every week or so, or 2 weeks until the time of closing. But looking forward to getting this, looking forward to getting this closed, right? Yep. Any questions for me? Feel free to shoot them over in the meantime. Yeah. So notice the way that I'm going about this, we're not really giving the seller an option to meet them in person locally. Now, sometimes before you send the agreement, they're going to say, well, am I going to meet you in person? Just say, well, let me ask you, would it make you feel more comfortable to meet somebody in person? Yes, it would. Okay, great. So once we get the agreement signed, we're going to send a member of our team out to the property and they're going to take pictures. You can meet them in person. And then if you have any questions, I'll be here for you. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, because we have property inspectors. So they're local realtors in the area that take our property photos once we go under contract. We don't send anybody out until we go under contract. And then from there, that gives that seller that comfort of, I want to meet somebody in person.
Dude, this is gold. So for those of you listening right now that are struggling with this or getting ghosted, number one, stop just sending DocuSigns. Yes. Send it if you're doing virtual. And sometimes like if you're just not doing virtual and they want it, do it with them on the phone because of what Chris just said. You have an opportunity to get through the objections in real time and in person with them or on the phone with them and get the signature. How many times have I sent a contract to someone and then just, oh yeah, they're going to sign it. And then poof, they're gone. And then I get an email saying, hey, 125 Main Street for sale from another wholesaler. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that is number one. Number two, what you just said is super important. Whether you do this virtually or not virtually, right? Let them know this is going to be the next step because they're not like us. They don't do this all day, every day for the most part, right? They might do it 1, 2, 3 times in their entire life. Tell them in a very crystal clear manner what to expect so they're not taken aback by a title attorney or whoever reaching out to them. They're like, where's Chris? Like, what's going on with Chris? And it just makes you think, it makes you seem, which is true, like you have your shit together. You're professional and you know what the hell you're doing because this is your profession and you should.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this,
last part?
Yes. And the cool thing about this to everybody listening is even if you've just started this business, okay, and you haven't even landed your first deal yet, just by having the confidence to say what I just said, go back, rewind the podcast, listen to it, say it, that instantly gives you a leg up on the quote unquote competition because you're going to give that seller a lot of peace. I say all the time that sellers don't want to be chased. They want to be led. They are lost sheep wandering around in a field on their worst possible day, and they need the shepherd. They need that guide to bring them home, right?
Exactly.
And so the way to do that is always let them know what happens next. So if you don't talk to the seller for 2 weeks and call them back hoping they're going to move forward, and they're like, oh, no, I didn't hear from you, so I didn't think we were still on. We're moving on. Like, you won't get that type of thing.
Dude, when I was running my sales team, I was telling you earlier, I don't anymore. We had 10 core values. Number 3 was never make assumptions. Never assume they know what is going to happen next, because what does that do? It does what you just said. They don't hear from you for a week or two and poof, they're gone. And then you thought this $50K assignment fee was going to happen. And then it doesn't. You're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I have a system in place to transition this from me to whoever else and have a system in place to follow up and actually make sure that they're getting what they need to get the transaction through. So super, super important, guys. So
can I share with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I share with you one key thing? Because what I just shared with some people listening, right, might have been a little overwhelming. It might have been like, oh shoot, I have to sit there over the phone with the seller while they're reviewing the agreement. Like what if all these things come up? And, you know, they might think they need to start locally and graduate to virtually. But the case is absolutely not, right? when you're meeting sellers in person, there are a lot more variables that are harder to overcome. For example, when you pull up to a seller's house, they're looking at everything. They're looking at your car that you pull up in. They're looking at your clothes, how you carry yourself. They're, looking at your body language, right? They're looking at what you like if you have a shocked face when you see something in their house, right? So there's a lot of variables to overcome there, right? But when you're talking to sellers over the phone, there's only one variable, and all that is can this person help me solve my problem? That's it.
Yeah, good point, man.
Right?
Yeah.
So all the other stuff, the tips that I just shared, those are solid tips to be able to help you move things forward. But the biggest thing to remember is it's easier to do this over the phone because, again, you have less variables to work through and less obstacles when you're looking to get that first deal under contract.
Awesome, dude. So for those who are listening right now, Chris, that are like, virtual wholesaling actually sounds like something that's missing in my business model. How, like, I join, virtual wholesaling made simple, and I get indoctrinated with you and the team. What am I doing, and what, like, onboarding wise, like, how am I getting from where I am today into like, oh, I know everything about virtual wholesaling and it's part of my operation?
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing that we do is we teach you we show you a simple framework. Number one, how to locate the best territories. Not all territories are created equal. There are some territories that are very rural, lots of sellers, no buyers, and there's some that are hyper competitive, as we talked about earlier, like California, where there's lots of buyers, but again, very difficult to get sellers. So, so the first thing we do is we show you how to identify a winning territory. And one of the ways we do that is by having you pay attention to the median home price. The median home price for your area is another a fancy word for the middle price. It's the most common type of house being bought and sold in that area. And you typically want to have that lower than the nationwide median home price. So very simple, just go to Google, search this up, and then find out if your territory has a median home price less than the nationwide. And if it is, that's check mark number one. Check mark number two, there's recent cash buyer activity in the area. So you want to go to Zillow.com, click sold on properties, type cash under search terms there, and you want to see if there's recent cash sales of distressed properties. So that's the first thing that we're doing, and we go a lot deeper with our clients, identifying like the best zip codes. But that's the kickoff point. And then from there, our next step is showing you how to grow a massive buyers list very quickly. A lot of our clients build a buyers list within like 100 to 200 buyers inside of their first 7 days with us, because we have a very simple method to do that, because we believe in find your buyer first, FYBF. A lot of wholesalers are told that if you find a good deal, it'll sell itself, right? That advice is a lot of baloney, because most new wholesalers starting out, they have no idea what a good deal looks like. So how could it sell itself? So what we do is we show you how to grow a massive buyers list, how to find out what they want, how to go get what they want through marketing, and then bring it to them. When you do that, wholesaling becomes so much easier. The third thing is the marketing piece. How do we get leads coming in? Now that we know what our buyers want, how do we start delivering those deals to them? Well, I firmly believe the best way to get leads as a wholesaler is by picking up the phone, making cold calls. It's low to no cost leads. And we find that when you sharpen your skills as a virtual wholesaler making those cold calls, it's going to give you a higher return on every other type of marketing you do. As a beginner, you don't want to practice on $300 a piece leads, right? You want to practice on low cost to free leads. And then once you have that coming in, you can outsource that to somebody else to make the calls for you after you've done your first deal. And then from there, we show you how to master those conversations over the phone. I shared a few quick tips today about how to guide the conversation from start to finish. We go a lot deeper into that, showing people how to really get comfortable with the phone so they don't leave any money on the table and they can reach their goals much faster.
Very cool, man. So who's your customer or the student that goes through your program? Is it a 100% newbie, hasn't done a deal? Is it someone doing 10 deals a month? Like who's the perfect fit for this kind of program?
Yeah, great question. So I typically find that it's either someone who's brand new, just getting started, doesn't have any real estate experience whatsoever, and they just want to land their first deal and make 10 to 20K in their first 90 days, right? The second type of person is someone who is a local wholesaler. Maybe they've done a few deals, but they're not doing deals consistently, and they really want to dial that in and make the switch to virtual, right? Those are the two best types of people I can help. I love working with the newbies. I do work with a handful of advanced people, showing them how to go from 500,000 to $1 million. But my main bread and butter, the people I like working with the most, are the newbies and who are just getting started.
Cool, dude. So Chris, if someone wants to learn more, talk to you or your wife or whoever talks to someone that's interested, how do they get in touch with you? How do they find you to have that conversation?
Yeah, great question. So if you're looking to land your first deal virtually in the next 90 days and you want a clear path and plan to be able to reach that, what I'd recommend you to do is go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com, fill out the application. Now, I don't accept everybody in the program. My time is very limited. And the people I do work with, I devote a lot of time to them to make sure they get the results that they're paying for. Yeah. And so you want to be really detailed in your questions, detailed in your responses on the application. And I'll review everyone personally. If I like what you have to say, then I'll consider bringing you into the program and scheduling a quick chat. But outside of that, I look forward to working with you.
Awesome, man. And for those of you who need a link, we'll include everything in the description of this episode. Chris, last question for you. Is there anything you can share, whether it's like a book, a resource, a checklist, anything that you didn't share already, and you dropped some pretty amazing stuff, so I appreciate that already, to the listener to better their personal life, their relationship, their community, their business, anything?
Yeah, hands down, by far, the best book that I recommend to wholesalers starting out is this one right here. Whoops.
Oh, Gary Keller, The One Thing.
Yes.
I love that
Reason being is most new wholesalers, they're focused on 52 different ways to land their first deal. But the truth is you don't need 52 ways. You just need to go all in on one thing, which is one way, virtual wholesaling, landing deals. Apply that to your marketing, just cold calling to land that first deal. And the result is closer than you might think.
Very awesome, man. Well, Chris, nice connecting with you today. Thank you so much for sharing all this amazing information. Reach out to Chris, you guys, if you've ever thought about virtual wholesaling. Again, the link will be in the description here. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Awesome, brother. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
All right, man. See ya.
All right, bye.